Hi, everyone. Um, Thanks for meeting me with me today to talk about decolonized diapering. My name is Mariposa. My pronouns are they, them. I'm Mohawk and Southern Tagalog. Southern Tagalog is from the Philippines in a province called Batangas. um, so I'm here today to talk about elimination communication, what some people call elimination communication. Some people call it infant toilet training. Some people call it just toilet training. There's lots of different words out for it. Some people might have their own words for it in their own cultures as well. But before we get into all that, I just want to recognize whose land I'm on. I'm on unceded Ramaytush Ohlone land in the Ohlone village of Yalamu. And the song that you heard earlier was This is Ohlone Land by Alphabet Rockers. It's on the Love album. And I played that song so you could hear the different languages and the different nations that are on the land that I am on, which is unceded land. It's also important to point out that no Ohlone nation is actually federally recognized as well. So when folks say the land is unceded, it's unceded to basically all of it. So moving on. So if everyone can write their name in the chat, their pronouns, where they're coming from. If you know whose land that you are on, please write that in other than just like, me saying San Francisco. But if that's all you know, that's fine too. But that would be great. So we're going to get into it and we're going to get started. So I just wanted to share this picture. So I'm going to first share my story with you all, my personal story, because I think it's important to lead by stories and how what my journey was into what we call elimination communication. So this was my then 10-month-old. I have even younger pictures, but to me, this was the most covered up picture I could find of my baby toilet training or going to the potty or whatever. Um, so basically, I was in my third trimester of pregnancy, and I was like, getting everything ready, nesting, blah blah blah, and everything. I'm like, okay. And I remember someone told me a while ago that, where I live, there's a Chinatown, right? How a lot of Chinese parents in Chinatown, where I live, would just have their baby go to the potty, right? As well as having diaper as a backup. And I always thought, I was like, oh. And I remember talking to my mom and telling my mom, I said, hey, I heard there's this thing, you just have the baby go potty, right? Because my mom could say like, okay, we got everything, diapers check, clothes check, all this stuff before the baby comes, right? And then I was like, well, does my baby really need diapers? Because I heard they can go potty too. And then that's when my mom was like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. My mom looked at me and said, oh, your great grandma did that with me, right? And I said, oh, really? Like, this has been done, like, at least on one side of my family before? And then my mom was like, yeah, when the baby needs to go pee, you go, psst, and when the baby needs to go poop, you go, right? You make the sounds or whatever, and then the baby goes potty. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I was very intrigued. And then my mom was like, yeah, but why do all that? It's just so much easier for them to go in their diaper. Like, my mom was like, don't make it hard on yourself. Just make life easy. You're a solo parent already. Like, you have a lot of challenges already, right? That's on my mom's side. Then I was like, okay. And I was like, well, did you do it with me? And then my mom was like, no, I put you in Huggies. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, okay, my mom never did it. I was like, So I kept thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, I want to try this out. Um, I tried to Google stuff online. I didn't know it was like really called anything. I kept trying to like Google like toilet training babies, stuff like that. I couldn't really find some stuff. Saw a few websites, but one thing that kept coming over up for me like over and over again is that it was very white woman led, the conversation online. Um, and that was hard for me because like I heard these stories from my mom, right? Who's not a white woman, who's Southern Tagalog. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna figure this out. It was like, my great grandma did this without like reading a book and blah blah. Like intuition is big, right? Like I'm think I'm just gonna figure it out. So my baby was born. My mom's like, hurry up, put the diaper on the baby. And I'm like, no, my baby's just so pure. It just came out. So from day zero, there were times where I would offer the potty or, you know, and stuff like that. I would just try to figure it out by trial and error. Like, okay, when does my baby need a potty? When is this? I started to notice that when my baby farted, that usually like a pee or a poop would be there very soon after. So I started to notice that trend. I started to know that when I would nurse my baby, sometimes my baby would pop off and get really like whiny and finicky and crying. And I was like, oh, you must need to go potty. So offering that too. Having lots of diaper free time as well. I definitely still use diapers as a backup. So I think it's important to say when, I say decolonize diapering or other people sometimes say go diaper free or all these type of elimination communication, you still use diapers as a backup, right? When you want to. So that's always still there. That's not like we're gonna throw away all diapers and never see them again. Unless you could do that if you really wanted to. Um, but usually people mean that diapers are a backup and diapers are not seen as the toilet, like whereas the potty is seen as the toilet where you go. Um, so that was my journey by age 4 months of my baby. My baby was pooping in the potty. Would never poop in the diaper after age 4 months. Then around this picture that you see here, around 10, 11, 12 months, I noticed my baby was daytime trained. And literally a few days right before I took this picture, we went on a flight. We were on a flight to Chicago. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to do elimination communication on the flight to Chicago. That's like 6 or 7 hours. I don't want to keep getting up and down. I'm a solo parent. I'm going to keep the baby in the carrier. I'm just going to have them go in their diaper. And then when we get off, then I'll offer them one potty and it'll be fine. I'm not going to really do it as much because I'm traveling. Um, so when we hit Chicago all the way from California, I took my baby's diaper off. I noticed it was all dry. I put them on the potty. They filled up that potty so huge. And that was when I noticed I was like, whoa, you're really holding on to your pee. Like you're not you're not gonna go pee in your diaper anymore. And so around that time, that was when my baby was daytime trained. I still would use cloth just as a backup, just in case if something got missed. Around 13 or 14 months is when my baby was nighttime trained. The reason why I say 13, 14 months because it was literally 2 weeks after my kids' first steps. So they started walking at around 13 months. So that's my journey. I'm a solo parent and solo from conception. Gave birth by myself, all that. And I did EC. I want to say sometimes I did EC as what people consider like full-time elimination communication. And then sometimes I did this part-time. And sometimes there were days where I was just like, it's too much. I'm not doing any of it. Just go in your diaper. Or I remember like one day I was so stressed out. When my baby would go in their diaper, I would still make the EC sounds. I would go, psst, when I saw them peeing on or going poop, I go, Um, so I share that story with you all because I think it's really important so that you know that, oh, I'm telling you all about this, but I've also lived it. I've also did it. And I did it actually without a book. I didn't really know much about all that. I think my kid was like 17 or 18 months or something. There was I found out there was an EC coaching program, EC and potty training coaching program called Go Diaper Free. Sorry, Go Diaper Free or whatever by Andrea Olson. And so I did her training program and I went through the whole thing or whatever. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that about that. And I'm gonna share some resources, and they are from Andrea Olson from the training program. But I think the point of this too is so you all can remember like how important it is to think about old ways when we're raising our children, right? These very old ways. So I'm gonna stop sharing real quick. And I was wanting for everyone to type in the chat. Um, so I want folks to type in the chat of before there were diapers, what did parents do? What did caregivers do? So type in the chat. What do you think? Before there was the invention of a diaper, what did what did babies do? How did they excrete? Where did they excrete? What happened? Um, and I'll just give you all about maybe 30 seconds or a minute. Okay, one person says moss. Yep, and with the moss bags. Anywhere else? And this can be like global indigenous, cultures. Maybe you're not indigenous to, North America, but maybe you're indigenous somewhere else, and you can say what you think, your elders have told you there too. Because, elimination communication is global. People have been doing it forever. Cloth or tied wrapped around the area. Okay. See anyone else? Okay. So basically what I've noticed when I've, heard stories, when I've talked to people, a lot of times most well, they would definitely be doing infant potty training, right? So anytime that they would be just in cued with their kid, just like kind of when your baby needs to go to sleep, you knew when your baby needs to go potty. But then there are times where they're like, hey, I can't really deal with all that right now. Kind of like I told you, like, I'm just too tired. I gotta cook this food, people are coming back or this is happening. Um, Usually there will be some kind of moss, right? So a lot of folks' traditions have moss bags. So the lot of people moss, they put the baby went potty, there's a moss, you take out the moss, bam. And there are other cultures that had some type of plants or base, like that kind of moss type of stuff that they would put underneath a baby, whether it was inside a bag or not. They might just lay their baby on top of I'm saying moss, but like basically any type of foliage or plants or anything like that will absorb some type of liquids. Um, but yeah, oh, also cloth, but stuff with cliff rose bark. There you go. So that some type of plants is being used to absorb that. Um, so that, and then we had the cloth diapers, right? So cloth diapers then were invented, and then people started using cloth diapers, right? So some people talked about cloth tied or wrapped around the area. And then of course people have modern cloth diapers now. I'm gonna show you another, let's see, right here. So here, share screen. Here we go. So um, this is a really amazing chart. I love this chart. So basically, I want everyone to really look at this chart. So if you see the brown dark line, which is the top one, that is the completion age of here in the United States. And I know some people might be calling in or tuning in from other places all around the world. So you might be like, oh, this doesn't really apply to me. Um, but I think it's still important to show this. So here in the US, you could see when the completion age was in the 1800s, the average age would be around 12 months, right? And then if you could see where it says 2014, where it keeps says going up higher.
My body made another ouchie.
I'm sorry, let me kiss you real quick. Okay, there you go. You're good. Thank you. Sorry, you all. And then you see the start age, right? In the 1800s was from day zero, right? And the completion would be around 12 months. So I think there's something really important to point out with all this and where the world's completion age is at right now, the average. I remember one time I was on a tour I was on a tour in Jamaica, and I remember how the tour guide kept talking about how all Jamaican babies are toilet trained by age 2, the latest. Like never. The Jamaican babies never go past age 2. I like randomly bring it up in the tour, and I was like, oh, this is very interesting. I'm actually interested in this. So I thought that was really amazing to hear that, they're even mentioned on a tour, right? Um, but yeah, so in 1959, disposable diapers was invented by Pampers. Anybody heard of Pampers? Raise your hand if you have. Um, Big disposable diaper company. Um, so they invented disposable diapers, but when they first came out, they weren't really popular. People didn't really like them. Does anybody want to type in the chat and tell me why they think it was not popular? Why you think that it would be not popular? Well, I think because I'm sharing screen, I can't actually look at the chat while I'm sharing screen. So I'm just gonna give you some of the reasons why. So one of the reasons why is the disposable diapers were too rough. If you compare to a cloth diapers are typically more softer, right? They're not rough like how a disposable diaper would be, and especially disposable diaper back in 1959. Another thing is that when you use one disposable diaper, it's gone. You can never reuse that diaper ever again. Whereas cloth diapers, you can reuse, 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 reuse. Also, another one was that babies couldn't feel the wetness, right? So since babies can't feel the wetness, not every baby, but many times that helps with toilet training, right? Um, Newborns and babies and toddlers having a connection like, oh, when I pee, I'm wet, right? Connection with their body, right? Knowing like, oh, when I do this, this means this. This is what's going to happen. Whereas disposable diapers, when I go pee, I don't get wet. So there's no what's it called? A natural thing that happens. So that happened. So nobody was buying the Pampers, disposable diapers. Pampers like, we made this beautiful invention. So they did what a lot of other corporations do, right? So the diaper industrial complex, aka with it complex, I don't remember, industry or whatever. Then in 1962, they hired a doctor. They hired a pediatrician on Pampers, salary, and that pediatrician came out with a study, right? Pampers sponsored study. So they had this Pampers sponsored study, and the study said, "Oh, you know what? You can't actually. You need to wait for any type of potty training, and you have to wait for signs of readiness." Um, and so, has anybody here raise your hand if you've heard people tell you like, "Oh, you need to wait for like till they're ready to do potty training or toilet training"? Just raise your hand, or maybe do a hand clap thing. um, because this is a myth that I've heard from so many people over and over again. They always tell me like, "Oh, well, I think my kid's ready now. We're ready now." Um, but something that's important to note is that babies for millennia have been going potty way before. Again, the average age now is around 36 months in the US, right? It's going higher. Babies have been going potty in a, I want to say in an actual potty, but in the area that folks are told, hey, go potty here, right? So when people told me, oh, well, there not always wasn't toilets. But if you look at most indigenous cultures around the world, there's always a specific place to go potty. Like you don't just do it anywhere. It's like, okay, we go here to go potty, whether that is a hole in the ground, whether that's like a certain type of toilet, another kind of toilet. Like there's always a specific place to go, right? And people can see that by um, a lot of times, certain elements that are in the ground, right? This was the place where this area of folks went potty and everything. So this is a myth that's still being promoted today. Even that pediatrician or whatever has now since gone back and been like, you know what, actually you can do elimination communication, but it's just too much work. You should just wait, right? So they've actually gone back and discredited their own research that they did with Pampers and everything. So let me see what people, I'm going to stop and see what people, yes, money. Okay. Yep, money is important. So I want to share this with you all with elimination communication, decolonize diapering, as a way not just only to think about saving money, but as a way to really connect with their child. I know for me as a solo parent, um, it's always hard to have people connect with my child. What are type of things that they can connect? And it was so for me, it was so amazing. At some point, I kept doing elimination communication against my mother's wisdom, because my mom was like, "You're making it too hard on yourself, whatever." But at some point, my mom started doing um, elimination communication with my baby. And it was so amazing to see this bond. And that anytime my mom be like, I think they need to go potty. I'm gonna go take them. And then like, my mom will put them on the potty. And then my mom was like, oh my God, I'm so right. I knew what they needed, I knew what they wanted, and I got it done. It was like this huge accomplishment and this huge feeling. And I think that feeling was why I was really attracted to EC. Cause it was like with my newborn, be like, oh my God, I met your needs. I knew what you wanted. We got it done and it happened. And then even when like, hey, I didn't know what you wanted or whatever, you just keep moving. But this sense of teamwork and like, oh, we're doing this together. And we're doing this. I'm reading the signs, kind of the same of like when you finally got your baby to sleep and you're like, oh, good, or you got that baby fed and they feel, full. So um, let me show you the next slide. Is there any questions so far? Please feel free to type it in the chat and I can address it um, while going. I'm going to show you the next thing. So if people want that file, I'm just going to add it right here and put it in there. If people want that.
Mari, I'll just let you know if there's any questions that like we should, you should address before you keep going on. I'll just let you know since I know you can't see the chat box.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it so much. So I'm gonna be putting in that PDF right now. I want to share with people. So you're probably like, okay, so how do I do EC? Like, that's why I came today, is I want to learn, like, this is great. Yes, let's connect to like these old ways, what our ancestors did, how we can decolonize these practices and, also support the earth. That's something that we really should be talking about is like, how many disposable diapers you can get in 1 year. They think they said it's over like 3,000, right? And the impact on the earth. And again, that's not to shame anyone, but that's something to think about, right? The cost to our Mother Earth when we are doing disposable diapering. And even, cloth diapering still takes up resources too. I definitely use cloth diapering as a backup. So I want to show you all, here's how you can get started, right? So I remember how I told you when I was younger or whatever, when my baby was younger, I was just like, hey, so I noticed they started farting and like, what can I do? And blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to drop in the chat and I'm also going to show you. Here's share screen. Here is an observation log. So some people use apps on their phone. Maybe you have like a baby app already that tracks when they go poo and they go pee already, because a lot of people are doing this already with newborns. This is something that's very like part of people's practice, especially I think in the first 10 days. So here is a log you can use. I'm also going to send you all some other logs as well that you can use. But basically, tracking when your baby goes pee and poo, especially like before eating, after eating, things like that is very, very, very helpful, because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes there's a pattern. So you will see like, oh, I noticed around 10 o'clock, like every day for the past week, my baby's had they had a wet diaper. Okay, that's something to think about, right? And so you'll just start noticing all these patterns. Everybody is seeing the files I'm putting into the chat box, right? There we go. So those are 3 different kind of logs. Again, if you already have it on your phone, you can use it.
I'm sorry, Mari. I'll let people know that in Mari's bio on the website, I can also put these links. So if anybody doesn't grab them right now, you know, I can also just take anything you want to share.
Oh, well, at the end, I was going to tell people how they can join the Decolonizing Diapering Facebook group, and I have all the files loaded there too as well.
Right.
So if people, that might just be easier if people want to do that as well. So here is, let me show you all the next screen. So you probably are like, well, how do I know what signals are my baby? So let's go into the signals. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here are signals that to do with your baby. Okay, so your baby can have so many signals, right? So your baby might all of a sudden start crying or screaming, increased fussiness. I remember I was watching my sibling's baby one time, and anytime they were about to go potty, they would just like, oh, whine, cry, like just so like fussy. Sorry if I'm saying whine, but I mean like fussy. Um, at one point, I remember my baby would all of a sudden be really active. They would just start crawling all of a sudden, like, oh my God, I gotta crawl. I gotta go here. I gotta go. And then I would be like, oh, you need to like move. Some babies, maybe they're doing a lot of movement, and then they all of a sudden they're just still and they just sit there and they just like look at you. Or maybe they're looking down, right? Squirming or wiggling, right? Um, if you have an older one crawling, you know, in a bed, that's not gonna happen here when we're talking about BC, but it's for older kids. If they have like a poo-poo face, like, you know, things like that. If they're popping off your chest while you're feeding them, if you're nursing them, even sometimes off, if you're bottle feeding, also sometimes if you're bottle feeding, right? Grunting or bearing down, sometimes like this, especially if you have one that's older than 6 months, maybe they squat or when they're standing. Trembling, heavier breathing, right? So these are all ones. Blowing raspberries. So what that means is like when you're saying psst, or you know, they're trying to like make the same sound as you, like psst, 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 like that. So those are some ways if you're wearing your baby in a baby wearing sling or carrier. Sometimes also they can be really squirmy, right? Because basically they don't want to pee or poop on themselves. So they're like, get me out of here because I'm too crowded to like do my business. So that's one way. But maybe you're like, well, I don't notice my kid doing any of these, right? So that's fine. There were times where I was like, I don't think my kid has any signals. So I just did generic timing during those times. So anytime a human body wakes up from sleep, usually it has to go potty, right? And that's at any age. So every time my baby woke up in the morning, first thing I did, we went right to the potty. I always call it usually your automatic win. You're gonna always get that one usually. During the diaper change, so some of you may know this or not. I've heard stories when people talk about like they take the diaper off, then they put another one right away, like super fast. Baby pees in that one. They're like, wait, and then they take on, then they put another one on, and they're like, the baby just peed on that. Basically, what your baby is doing, they're waiting to be actually to go potty like without a diaper on, like to be free, right? So that's a perfect time to put them on the potty, and or hold them. And I will show you how to do a hold with them as well. So before after bath, you can just keep looking at this natural timing again. Um, some babies during the middle of feeding will want to go potty after waking up. Your intuition, this is very important. There are many times where I would be like, I think my baby has to go pee, and I had no other reason, and they just had to go. We just went. Um, happened many times where if I had to pee, my baby also had to pee. This also makes sense, especially a lot of times when if folks are nursing or even sometimes bottle feeding, you're also a lot of times hydrating yourself. So you're actually both drinking the same amount of liquids, sometimes or sometimes not, right? Just depending. So here's some reasons. And you could take a screenshot of this. I can also drop it in the chat as well. And it's also going to be in my Facebook group, in the Decolonize Diapering group. So there we go. And then I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm going to show you all after that. So here we go. Let me get some of the stuff. So some of you are all like, okay, so that's great. What are some things that I need to get started with EC? You basically don't need anything if you don't want to do anything, right? But some things that are helpful are what people call chucks pads. They have some that are reusable and or towels. I only mentioned chucks pads because they have a lot of times like a plasticky kind of liner or whatever that can help. So chucks pads, some people have chucks pads extra after they give birth. So if you happen to have some around, not saying you need to go out and buy any, but those are great to just allow your baby to lay on and have some diaper free time in general, so that you can start to observe, right? That's why you need the logs. So you want to start to just like really observe your baby, like, what's going on? Okay, oh, I noticed this, I noticed that. Anytime your baby goes pee, whether they're on a potty or not, you can start to do the sound association, right? Just a sound association is really powerful, right? So a lot of people do this with newborns when they need to go to sleep. They go shh, right? Shh. Or some people use white noise, and so because a lot of babies like that type of noise, right, to be able to go to sleep, and that's creating a sound association. So when a baby goes pee, psst, right, and that's a sound association you can do with that. When your baby's going poop, you go right, like a grunt, whatever your grunt sounds like, you can practice that right now. Some people also start to do hand signals because at some point, I've seen some people, their babies will actually hand signal them back to them before they can verbally talk that they need to go potty. So potty is like this in ASL. This is American Sign Language. So I know people are watching this from everywhere. So this is the potty sign for ASL. So this is potty. And if you want to do poop, because there is no, they just use this for P2. That's poop. So like, something falling out. So that's poop. And this is potty. So your thumb underneath, and you just shake it a little bit. So sometimes when you see babies do it, they're like that or whatever. And you could do this for poop. You can do this for all of them, right? So you're starting to do the sound associations. You're observing your baby, right? You're starting to notice patterns, generic timing, natural timing, all those things, right? At some point, you're gonna be like, okay, so I know how to do all this stuff, but how do I actually get the baby to go potty, right? So here, here's my baby and everything. Here, I'm gonna take off my background, and you all will see my messy house, but it's okay. Here we go. Okay, so here's my baby. Here's their backup, right? Here's their knee. Here's their knee. So there are different ways to hold a baby, especially a newborn, when they need to do EC, when they need to go potty. So first thing you could do, there are many different ways, but one is so I'm gonna imagine that in front of me, like I know it's all you see me, but it's a mirror. I'm in my bathroom. And imagine right here there is a sink, right? So what I can do is I get the baby's legs and I hold the baby like this. Does everybody see? And I'm like, psst. And so I do the sound association. So I'm letting my baby know right away. So I started off like that. I do the sound association and I'm holding the baby. So, psst. So maybe you're holding here. Some people will hold out, wherever your comfort level is. But basically what you want to do is you want to make sure the knees are near the tummy, because human beings best excrete when they're in a squatted position, whether are a baby, a newborn, a toddler, or an adult, right? That's why a lot of people buy squatty potties, so they can be in a squatted position. So this position will help you the most. Some people will do this with their baby over a toilet. I wouldn't do that. I never done that, but you know, if you could want to do that, you can. You can do over a bathtub. Hold them over a bathtub. You could do that. There's also something called a top hat potty, which I will show you, but basically it's literally like a top hat, but reversed. And so it has a hole and the baby just sits there, and then the top hat potty. So this is the way you hold, and this is what they call the classic EC hold many times. So there we go. So basically, this will really help you. Does everybody see that? I just want to really show this position because I've had so many times where people are like, wait, can you show it again? Can you show it again? And everything. So here we go. That's how you do that. A lot of times with the top hat potty, so I'm just gonna pretend this is a top hat potty or whatever. People just lay, there we go, the baby's legs are already up. If you're like, hey, you know, I'm really not trying to spend a lot of money on AC and all the accessory, you know, and everything, you can just get a piece of Tupperware, right? Like, you know, those yogurt plastic cups or whatever, you know, you can use that. You can have a clear Tupperware. I would say a circular shape is better than a square shape. But then again, maybe for you, a square shape might be better, right? It all depends what works for people. But I would say that most people prefer a circular shape in terms of place to discreet. So you're just like, you're laying in the bed, you're nursing the baby, or maybe you're feeding the baby. Okay, I'm gonna use a new baby. Okay, thank you.
This one.
Okay, I'll use both, thank you. Can I use you?
Yeah.
Can I use you?
Use me.
Okay, I'm gonna use you. So here's a big baby. Okay, here. You're gonna hold up the legs. There you go. The baby is ready to go potty. Okay, can you please go through your stuff?
Yeah. Okay.
You can go take it with you. Actually, I need that, but I need that for my workshop. Thank you. Can you please remember we had an agreement. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm baby, please. Bye. Okay, thank you. I need that. Your pop.
Can I drink one step?
You can't go there. I have water for you over there. Everything's set up for you. So yeah. So another thing you could do, like another area, your baby can pee. Remember I mentioned the Chucks pads. You can use an accessory. Your babies can pee on a Chucks pad. Sometime I would be just laying down on the floor with my baby. They had to go potty. I'm not gonna get up and go all the way to the sink. I was too tired. There's a Chucks pad. I just hold them over the Chucks pad. They go pee that way. Let's see, a towel. Say maybe you don't have Chucks pads. If you do towels though, definitely like don't put the towel all the way out. Like, you know, you want to have layers to the towel so there can be absorption and everything. Just basically anywhere that you want your baby to start associating, and that's safe for them to go pee. You know, you don't want to just be like, oh, here's the floor, just go. You know, you want to have like a splash, like some type of splash pad, I guess, like a towel, a Chucks pad, a reusable Chucks pad, something like that. Maybe you have a little, like I say, yogurt, like a plastic yogurt circular thing. Maybe you have a top hat potty. When they get a little bit older and they can sit up. So, you know, we're talking about day 0, we're like, well, like 10 days or whatever. When your kid can, baby can start to actually sit up. You can get yourself a mini potty. Here is my mini potty. This is my most favorite mini potty, especially since it's clear. So I can always see what's going on. If you can find yourself a clear mini potty. I have no idea where to buy this exact kind of clear potty because I bought it off a mom for $5. So that's how I got this or whatever. But what you want to make sure with potties, especially with babies, you want to get what's called a mini potty. So this is very small. You see in the surface and the diameter. IKEA sell these usually for $5. They're not clear though, but they're called mini potties. And so they're just like this. The ones that have like the really tall backs, those are meant for like 2 and 3-year-olds. Those are for older age. You want to get one that's a smaller mini potty. So this is what we use. I even would throw this in my car. It would go. Some of you are like, okay, do I have to do things? Do I have to do things full time? Do I have to do EC full time? You don't have to do EC full time. You can do this part time. You can do this some of the time. You could do it once a day. I always say like view EC is another way to connect with your baby, right? So doing EC is another way to connect with your baby, right? So maybe you do it, every morning when you first start. And that's when you do it. And you do every time you change the diaper. So like I'm changing the diaper. So I'm gonna change the diaper. My diaper changing station is right nearby, I don't know, the sink or maybe the bathtub, or maybe I don't even have it in the bathroom and I just have like a splash pad. I could do like a little towel area or whatever, or a Chuck's pad, and you hold up the baby, right? And they go on, remember, knees up, right? That's very, very important. So I think those are very, very important. If you're like, okay, so some of you might have, does anybody here have babies that are over 6 months old? Like they're crawlers, or just babies who are actively crawling, and are mostly walking. So especially when they're crawlers, babies who can sit up, right? This is something called a PotTech Plus. This is good for travel, right? So you can hold it like this when you're on, and when I mean on the road, I know we're all in COVID. I meant like you happen to be out, but you still want to continue having your baby not go in their diaper. You want to still keep doing EC with them, right? You want to still communicate this, right? So you can have this, or if you want to put it on top of a toilet, it goes like this, flat, right? This, if it's on the ground, you're at the park, you all playing, right? Boom, boom. Just put like a plastic ring. But, if you're on like actual dirt or ground, then you could just go like that or whatever. Unless it's poop, then you want to catch poop, right? But I want to show you also, again, this is the reason why the mini potty is so helpful when they're younger. If you see how small the diameter is compared to that. That's a huge difference, right? So this is when the babies are way more mobile and you're going out, like you're at the park or something. What I would do when my baby wasn't mobile, like I didn't even need this. I just, again, I just hold the baby. Okay, we're just gonna go potty right here. We're standing behind a bush. You definitely want to be as discreet as you can be, or whatever. Like, say my baby had to go potty or whatever, I go behind a bush, find some more privacy kind of area or whatever. And I don't mean like as in like discreet as in like whatever, but sometimes some people are like, oh my God, did you just do that in front of me? You don't want to hear people's all their type of their opinions, right? Especially if they're not supportive of what you're doing with your own child. You want people to always be supportive of decisions you're making with your child. So that's why I think sometimes being a little bit more discreet, sometimes in those specific situations when it's public, is helpful, and everything. I want to show you. So you're probably like, well, I'm all at home. We're really not going anywhere. What do I do? So I'm putting my baby, I have to take off the diaper, I have to do this, blah, blah. Who here is in more colder climate right now? Who's in a hotter climate? if you're in a more colder climate, depending how cold, of course, but there's something called baby leggings. And these are amazing. They're literally called baby leggings. So you could just Google baby leggings. I think they even got their own website. I think it's like babyleggings.com. You don't have to buy these. You could also just get a pair of pants and cut the tops and then sew it. The only thing that's great is they have this little kind of elastic and it falls. So the baby's wearing the diaper and then you put these and these are like the baby's pants. Make sense? So it's easy to take the diaper off right away compared to like, okay, they got the diaper. Oh, I got to take the pants off. I got to take the diaper off. Oh, it's already all done, right? Whereas like they already have this. Let me take off the diaper. Bam. So this is one simple, easy trick. These are pretty cheap. But again, you don't have to buy these. You can just, you know, depending how cold or warm it is inside your house. I mean, you can just have your baby just in a diaper. You don't, this is only if it's like a little bit colder or anything like that. When you're at the house. Another thing that some cultures have, these are from China, but they're called split crotch pants. Man, when I was younger, I used to call them baby chaps, or whatever. But basically, you know, your baby's wearing the diaper. So these are like, especially if it's colder where you're at, and they need a more fluffy. So then you put this on them, and then here's the diaper. You can still pull the diaper out, and still put them on the potty or hold them, depending on what age they are. Right? Because again, if they're sitting, you can get them started used to sitting them on the potty. Also, if they're newly sitting, you want to make sure you're still holding your baby. And just because they're sitting, you never leave them alone. So when we're doing EC, you don't just like, oh, here, you're on the potty, I'm going to walk away. I think that's very common sense, but then I also feel like I need to say it out loud just so people are very clear. You know, like if your baby's sitting on the potty, say they're 6 months or whatever, like when I had my baby, I was literally holding their hand because sometimes, you know, they go down to the side and oh, you know, I was always holding their hand, play games, you know, sing songs. Sometimes I would read potty books. Sometimes I would just talk or whatever. I just made it a time of this beautiful connection, like while we're on the potty. Because sometimes they don't go right away, right? So you're like, you put them in the potty and you're like, what's going? It's been 30 seconds. You know, you got to wait a little bit, right? They're still learning how their body works and how to do things and how things come out. So maybe you sing a song for like, you know, 2 or 3 songs. Nothing happened. Sure, then take them off, right? Depends how comfortable you are, how long you want to sit with your baby in the potty. My baby loves sitting in the potty. There were times I actually tried to take them off when they were younger, and they'd be like, "No, I'm into what I'm doing here right now. I'm gonna play with it." I'm like, "Okay," so you know, but of course, like definitely not like super long or anything, right? But, so again, you can all see that. So here is another thing. So you can look online. There are lots of stores, lots of companies. I can't give you one that I think is better than the other because every baby and the way they go potty and then how they diaper is always all different or whatever. But you can get like baby undies. So this is like supposedly baby underwear, but in a way it's kind of like a cloth diaper, but it's a pull up and pull down for an infant, right? So you can see it's thick, it's supposed to slightly absorb, right? And then it's also scrunched so nothing goes out, right? And this is the PV, what they call PUL, or right, the outside. This one is from the EC store. I don't know if it's still around. I bought these off of somebody. But these were great. So, you know, I put these on my baby. So like say, you know, my kid is like 7 or 8 months. So they're wearing it. This is their cloth diaper as a backup, right? But they call it baby undies. Okay, so take it off, go in the potty, and what they're doing. Okay, let's wipe you. This is still dry because you didn't pee in it. Let me help you put on the sack. So that was really, really great. One thing that was also really helpful to me, this is for people who have maybe babies more, I would say anywhere like older, especially 12 to 18 months. And maybe if some people are also currently potty training. Not everyone likes this method or not, but there's something called a potty watch. This was so helpful for me. So I actually, I did this, when did I do this? I think when maybe around, I forgot, definitely after 10 months, right? When I started seeing the daytime training. So it can go off every 30, 60, or 90 minutes, right? There was a period of time I started noticing my kid had a pattern, like basically almost around every time that they drank water, usually within 1 hour, they have to go potty, right? So this goes off, the baby's like, oh, wow. Oh, I know it's time to go potty. The sound association, right? And I'd actually put it on my baby. I didn't put it on myself. I put it on my baby. So you all can decide whether you want it on you or you want it on your baby, either way. But I wanted my baby to be like, oh, and it looks kind of like a potty, right? And then we would go, I did this for about 2 weeks. I think it helped me really like cement the daytime training. But that was just me. Here's a reusable chucks pad. Some people call them like, I guess, baby waterproofers or like the mattress, whatever, but here's one that you could see. A lot of times people give these away for free, you know, like they're just trying to get rid of them. So that's something to think about too. I know some people have like extra large, if they do cloth diapering, of extra large pre-folds. And if you have a newborn, just lay your newborn on that too, on top of like a towel or something. Let's see if there's any more tools. So yeah, you can use like that. Let me see. Okay, I think that's it for the accessories. What I would like to do, because we're hitting about an hour, I would like to do a bio break. And while we do a bio break, I'm going to show you all a YouTube clip. Has anybody watched Trevor Noah from The Daily Show? If you do, he actually did elimination communication with his little brother, and he has a YouTube clip where he talks about it. So I'm going to share that with you all. Give me 1 second.
Diapers. I hate changing diapers. I don't have kids. I just hate changing diapers. I have 2 younger brothers, so I changed their diapers. And then at some point with my youngest brother, who's 20 years younger than me, I was just like, you're gonna keep shitting, so just don't wear pants. And I was like, it's easier to poop or scoop this person than it is. Like, so then my little brother would just come, I'd teach him. The thing was, he'd just come running up to me and then he'd be like, Trevor, poo poo. And then I'd be like, all right. And then we just run outside and then I'd make him shit in the garden. Like I would like fold him. I'd hold his legs and his body. And then like, I'd hold him like this. And then he'd be like a little turtle in my hands. And then I would hold him and then he would shit. And then he'd be like, doo-doos, doo-doos. Then I'd be like, finish. Then he's like, doo-doos. Then I'm like, all right, cool. Now shake him a little bit. And then I'll take him. Yeah, and then I'll take him and he'd stand and then I would spray him down with a hose pipe. So take him, and he loved it. He was like, this is the greatest experience ever. And then I would be like, just don't tell mom what we're doing. And then he'd always tell mom. He'd always be like, mommy, Trevor sprayed it me with the hose pipe. Then I'm like, Jesus, kid, you're killing me here. He would love it. It was like a fun. And then I remember like one of the funniest things was like a year or something later, we're sitting together watching TV. and we're watching footage of police spraying people with like protesters with the water hoses. And then he looks at me, he's like, Trevor, did they do this? And I'm like, no.
If you're back, I'm going to show you, I want to invite you all. I have a Decolonize Diapering Facebook group online. Sorry, it's not on any other platform. It's only on Facebook. So if you don't have Facebook, it's not fun for you, because then you won't have access to the group. But it's just a private group. So if you're on this call and you're watching, I will add you to the group. Let me get the link. So here's the Facebook group. It has my baby right there. I showed you all. Oh, sorry. Shows my baby right there. Whatnot. Going to the potty at 10 months old. And everything. I have different links and everything in here. Different stuff for you all to look. Right. Here's also my baby going potty. This is 19 months. This is definitely not EC, but a lot older. But you can see that. For kicks, 1 year, I was actual potty. My baby was poo-poo. Yeah, a little poop. And I was potty. So that, whatever. And I did this because I thought it was funny to hold them in a classic EC hold at the same time. It was actually my baby's idea for them to be poop, because poop emoji is very popular with the kids and everything. But yeah, you know, there's different stuff here. Here's a conversation I had with Marissa with Womb Revolution about Decolonize Diapering. But this is just a great free resource for you all to go. For me, again, what I wrote here, Decolonize Diapering is really about reclaiming these old ways, these old ancestral indigenous ways about getting rid of, you know, diaper dependency, right? And really listening to our babies and their bodies and what they need, right? So in relation, of course, to going potty and what some people call potty independence, quote unquote. So I just really wanted to share this with you all. So it sounds like you all are doing some great stuff. You're having some good conversations. I'm really talking about this. So I wanted to offer more resources. So what I suggest you to do, if you want any of like the stuff I was talking about with EC or even cloth diapering or whatever, is to do it secondhand. People are always reselling their EC stuff. I know I did or whatever. And also you make it cheaper. Like I even bought stuff like this from an EC group. I think I got them for like $1 or whatever. I didn't even go to babyleggings.com, right? I'm definitely, you know, since we're talking about indigenous values and stuff, it's always the less you can support corporations and these, you know, businesses and support and rebuy, that's even better. So here we go. Here is like some stuff that people are selling. They're even selling cloth diapers. Here's a group. Literally all you have to do is just like type in like EC or the words diaper free, elimination communication, and a Facebook thing. This is a good resource to do if you're on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, I bet you could just Google it and see what happens too. But I always like these because the stuff is way cheaper. And like, for example, like the top hat potty, if you all are gonna buy something like that, that's gonna last you probably about maybe 6 to 8 months. Maybe a little, it just depends how, right? But like you put the baby in it and then they go potty or whatever, they can only be so small with that, even though it's very helpful when you have it. So I wanna share that with you all. That's very helpful. I also wanna show you in that EC group or whatever, this is a book that I love. You can buy it secondhand from anywhere. Again, the person who's, yeah, I don't want to go over too much of that. You can get this. I guess if you really want to buy online, you can go on Amazon, fine. But you know, Amazon, not really the best, right? But you can just go find somebody. Thank you, Sylvia. But this is an amazing book because It tells you the steps of elimination communication. So it reminds you to do the pss, pss, right? You sit on the potty. It's like literally the book is telling you what to do, right? Pss, pss, pss. A little bitty push. Out comes with a teeny tiny whoosh, right? Says, you know, Mehmet, do we have to poop too? Right? That's the grunts, right? Zoom, zoom, zoom. Toilet paper spins, a white tongue clean, and the toilet paper in. You know, I pull on my pants. I dump my little potty. I do my all done dance. Flush, flush, goodbye, poop, poop, pee. Right? And then you, of course, wash your hands. Also, you can dump the potty too. If you're not comfortable with your own, like 6-month-old or whatever, dumping the potty, they don't have to do that, right? Because it's a 6-month-old, so it's totally fine to do that. So I really like this. I think there's a nighttime version of this one, but this one was so good that I never got rid of it. I still read this to my kids sometimes. They just like it. It's very nostalgic for us. I also want to say that when you're doing EC, there are going to be different stages. So like 0 to 3 and 3 to 6 months is very different from each other, but also can be very the same. So if you just go back to those spreadsheets that I have either in the Facebook group when you add in, or when also you can grab from the chat. If folks are watching this when it's recorded, if you just add to my Facebook group, all those actual files will be in there. I also want to mention for people who are like, okay, well, I'm not going to do cloth diapers as a backup when I'm doing EC. Can you recommend disposable diaper? I would say that you definitely don't want to have a disposable diaper that says like, you know, Huggies will say 12-hour, you know, anti-wet, you know, lock feel or whatever. You don't want something like that. So definitely like not Huggies, not Pampers. There are disposable diapers that allow the baby to feel the wetness. That's what you want. You want a baby to feel the wetness. So that brand is 7th generation. And that's, I guess, the brand that's most easily accessible in terms of, again, the United States. People might be watching from somewhere else. If you live somewhere else and you're like, I can't get 7th generation, what you can also do is have a washcloth, cut up like slices of that washcloth and lay that inside a disposable diaper you have already. So then the baby still feels the wetness. But realize you'll need to wash those little strips before they hit 3 days because then bacteria and stuff grows after with poop and pee after 3 days. Well, I guess it's always good, but to the point where it gets really bad. Some of you have babies that are from 12 to 18 months. This is a really important time in a baby's life. So important that I'm not really into Maria Montessori, but a lot of people like her methods. She actually called that the special period. And she was convinced that that was the time between 12 to 18 months where a child should be cemented in terms of their potty training, in terms of their toilet training. Because they were the most open and willing more than any other time of their development, she believed, to basically do potty training and doing toilet training, which again is slightly different than EC. One thing I will say that's really amazing in terms of wrapping up about EC is that sometimes one week was very different than next. Like some weeks I was like, wow, we're doing so great. And the next week I'd be like, oh, this is really hard. But I just stuck with it. And sometimes it was too hard, so I only did it maybe once that day or twice that day. Sometimes that's all we did that day was we just EC'd all day, right? So I want to tell people, like, if you're just doing EC even just once, or maybe you just take a day off, that's fine. It's totally fine. The sooner you start, the sooner you'll finish. The later you start, the later you'll finish, right? And that's true with potty training and toilet training and EC. And I remember people always telling me, oh my God, potty training, it's the worst. Wait till you get there. It's going to be the worst experience ever. It's so bad. People will tell me this, right? Kind of this fear, right? And then I remember being like, oh, I never had to do that. So I never had to potty train my kid. And that feels really great. Not saying, again, that's like nothing's better than anything else or whatever, but it feels really good that, like, since my baby was young, I was able to just listen. just listen to them and communicate their needs and just follow through and do the best that I can do as a single parent. Try my best, do my best. And I think that's what our kids expect of us. Just do your best. I'm here for everyone. If you add the Decolonize Diapering group, you can message me through that, or you can just write a post and then I can comment back. If you want to be more time sensitive, then maybe you can message me. But I would say just type it there, give me some time, I'll get back to it. Other people also chime in. So sometimes I'm not responding back to you, but someone else in the group does as well. And does anybody have any questions before we wrap up? And we're going to do a raffle. You can just raise your hand. I'm going to look in the chat right now. Thank you for showing the vlog. Yes. Okay, sounds great. So it sounds like nobody has any questions. I went over extra stuff. Yep, cloth diapers. Some of you, I think, are cloth diapering as well. This wasn't a cloth diapering workshop, but if people want to do a cloth diapering workshop, Rhonda, I can come back and do specifically one on cloth diapers. But I feel like there's so much stuff out there on YouTube already that it's, can be very overwhelming already. I think there's a lot already on that. So what I want to do for the raffle is I have a favorite number, and I was thinking that people could type in the chat anywhere from a certain number to the end. And then whoever gets closest to my favorite number wins the raffle. So basically what I'm raffling off is it's going to be a one-on-one virtual session about EC with just me. And then you, if you're only a single parent, but if you're co-parenting with other parents, it'd be great if they're on the call too as well. And we're just gonna have a one-on-one EC session where I'll be able to answer direct questions from you and everything. So it'll be your own like little mini EC workshop with specific questions and concerns about with you and your baby. So if folks want to type a favorite number of theirs, I know what my favorite number is. So anywhere from, I would say 1 to, let's say, 20. Anywhere from the numbers 1 to 20. Got a favorite number in my head. You could type in the chat. The person who's closest to it wins the 101 session for free. It'll be a 60-minute session. Okay. So we got everybody. We got 17, we got 19, we got 11, 2, 3, 4. So let's see, the 6 people. I think we have 7 people on. Does one more person want to type in chat, or no, you're okay? Okay, we got 15. Okay, so the closest, let's see. The closest would be number 11 because my favorite number is 8. I like the infinity. So Sari, did I say Sari? Did I say it right? So Sari, congratulations, you won a one-on-one session with me for free. It's a 60-minute session with you, and if there is a co-parent or not a co-parent or whatever, or sometimes there's a support person in the household or whatever, and everything. But I also want you to all know I'm here for all of you all. This is really like an amazing each one teach one and everything. Oh, cool, Sari, grandma can join, you know what I'm saying, on the call. So if there is a support person, it's always great. Like I said, my mom really helped and everything. And I want to end with one thing. Oh, you are the grandma. Okay. I love it. Okay. Great job, Sari. You are the grandma. Love it. Love it. But I just want to end with thank you all for letting me share this. I am so humbled. I'm just one person who just had a certain experience that hopefully people can benefit off of. I want to say there were times where during my EC journey was really hard because sometimes, I even had other people be very judgy towards me. Sometimes people would say weird things about me or unkind words about how I was parenting my child, as people do a lot, right? People sometimes, shame parents into a certain way. And I just thought about, well, the last known ancestor I known to EC was my great grandma. And so I have this picture of my great grandma. And anytime that I thought, man, this is really hard because I didn't have a book. I didn't know anybody. I think I knew one white family and they would post pictures, but they were like, we don't know what we're doing either. And their pictures didn't really tell me anything. Um, I would just look at this picture of my ancestor and I would just look at her and be like, what's next? What do I do? How did you do this? And I would just like communicate with my great grandma. And I think this is really important because the picture of her really reminds me about these old ways, right? And sometimes we have these great technologies, but sometimes it's just so good to go back to these old indigenous ways that our ancestors did, right? And they did them for a certain reason, and they were so helpful in ways that we can't even think of. So I hope I leave you with that today. And I hope that you'll try EC with your baby. And you can even start tomorrow, first thing in the morning, right when they wake up. Thank you all, everything from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for my family to yours.